Breaking overnight, President Trump declaring a state of emergency as Tropical Storm Dorian is expected to reach the shores of Puerto Rico later this morning.
And police still have not made any arrests in the murder of a 17-year-old in Fitchburg. What information we do have, that's straight ahead.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, August 28th. Had's bringing the sun out there. There is a gorgeous sunrise popping up today.
Yeah, the sky camera shots are absolutely gorgeous this morning. In fact, I couldn't pick which one was the best, so I loaded them both into the show.
Yes.
Okay, we'll take
My
that.
prerogative, right? Yeah, so let's show you some of those pictures this morning. Skies are clear.
Ooh.
Beautiful sunrise here on the west side of town. It's getting a little more muted every second, but it's still pretty nice to see with just a few clouds. Here's the one from the Edgewater, a little pinker as we look from the Edgewater sky cam this morning, but just a great start to the morning. It is going to be windy today. Keep that in mind. Temperatures are dropping through the 50s. Still haven't found the bottom just yet. We're down a degree to 58 here in Madison. It's down to 55 in Mineral Point, 54 in Juneau and Lone Rock. Temperatures today will climb back into the low 70s, but you may feel a little chill in the air. West winds will be pretty strong today, gusting up to 30 miles per hour at times. That may impact high-profile vehicles, especially on north-south roadways, so keep that in mind. 2 hands on the wheel today. No issues to report right now, though. A few brake lights on Park Street, but otherwise no other slowdowns or accidents to report.
I noticed that wind right away this morning, just walking in. I was like, oh my gosh, it has kind of a little chill to the bone. It's something we haven't been used to for a while.
A little bit, yeah. It feels just like a touch like fall today.
Autumn, folks. It's
There
here.
it is. It is. Pumpkin spice.
Yes.
Leah's happy.
Heading to Starbucks after this.
Oh boy. All right, Hattie, thank you.
You're welcome.
First this morning, back to school means it is time to update those vaccines for your kids in elementary and middle school.
But for some parents in Wisconsin, they're not choosing to vaccinate at all. The state health department says more than 5% of students are getting waivers for their shots. Christina Laurie joins us now to tell us why doctors are urging parents to stay up to date on those vaccinations. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, Josh and Leah. So doctors say when parents choose not to vaccinate, it puts both their kids and others, especially infants under a year old who can't be vaccinated, at a greater risk for developing diseases. This concept is called herd immunity. Vaccines protect the person vaccinated as well as those around them. The Centers for Disease Control say 99% of the world's population is able to be safely vaccinated, and it is very, very unlikely to have a severe reaction to a vaccine. In reality, it's more unlikely an unvaccinated kid will contract a deadly disease than it is they will suffer a severe and lasting reaction to the vaccine itself. By making sure your kid is aware of that, it could help make getting shots less scary for them.
I'm a mom too, and I have a entering 2nd grader and an entering 4th grader, and they know that the vaccines that they're getting help keep them from getting sick, and so they call them their infection prevention shots, and they're excited because they don't want to get the flu, they don't want to get sick.
The Wisconsin Department of Health Services requires students from kindergarten to 5th grade get 5 types of vaccines, including 4 doses of the polio vaccine, 2 for measles, mumps, and rubella, plus 4 doses of a combination of diphtheria, tetanus, and whooping cough vaccines. Assuming students in 6th grades or older already have those vaccines, the only new immunization required by law is 1 additional tetanus and pertussis, a whooping cough dose, to get them through high school.
This is an important topic because there's so much misinformation online these days about vaccines.
Yeah, and it's something that you can't really ask your young kid about. Hey, do you want a vaccine? No kid's going to say yes, but you as a parent know what's best for your family.
Well, and I think you have to kind of look in terms of it's not about your child, it's about everyone else too.
Right.
Because a lot of times by giving your child a vaccine, it's also going to protect the ones that are around them. So I think parents need to kind of look at that and stop being selfish about those decisions, because there are a lot of people that are going to be impacted.
Same for adults as well. It's almost flu vaccine season.
Is.
So get yours.
I always do.
I won't be here anymore.
It's on the list. Christina Laurie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Breaking overnight into the Channel 3000 Alert Center, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is asking the Queen to suspend Parliament just a few weeks before the Brexit deadline. Critics say the move will limit the time Parliament has to debate Brexit before the UK is supposed to leave the European Union on Halloween. The Parliament Speaker is calling the move, quote, a constitutional outrage. Johnson is expected to suspend Parliament on September 10th.
Also breaking overnight, President Trump is declaring a state of emergency in Puerto Rico as Tropical Storm Dorian approaches the island. As of this morning, Dorian had sustained winds of about 60 miles an hour, but forecasters say the storm is gaining strength ahead of its expected landfall later today. The emergency declaration allows FEMA to coordinate relief efforts from Dorian. Parts of Puerto Rico still haven't recovered after Hurricane Maria 2 years ago.
6:05 right now, and more local news this morning. Fitchburg police say there still haven't been any arrests made in the homicide of 17-year-old Shay Watson this morning, who was shot to death Sunday night on Lyman Lane. Police say this was not a random act, and they don't believe there is any threat to the public. As officials continue to investigate, Watson's friends are trying to focus on honoring him in whatever way they can. They made bracelets with Shay on them and say they'll remember Watson for all the ways he made them laugh.
He had a great relationship with everyone he met in his life. I don't even know. He just is so impactful in my life, I know, and I know many others.
Verona Area High School had a moment of silence yesterday to celebrate Watson's life. Staff also read a message to students asking them to keep Watson's family, friends, and classmates in their hearts. Counseling services have been made available as well, and plans for the funeral and memorial haven't been made yet, but the school says they'll share that info when it's made available.
The medical examiner is conducting an autopsy today for a man who was found dead outside of a business on East Washington Avenue. The 60-year-old was found near the McDonald's across from Easttown Mall yesterday. Police say they do not suspect foul play and that the death is not suspicious. Headlines around the state this morning: a woman involved in a highway standoff in Waukesha County that led to an officer-involved shooting is wanted by police this morning. Kaylin Sunday cut off her GPS monitor Monday morning. Police haven't been able to find her since. She was released on bond earlier this month and since then failed to show up for 2 drug screenings. She also hasn't paid any of the fees associated with the GPS monitor. A judge will re-examine her bond today. A man and a woman are recovering this morning after a plane crash in Greene County. The two were flying from Rochester, Minnesota, when their plane went down in a field just off of County Highway FF between Monroe and Albany. Deputies say the pilot called 911 himself, citing mechanical issues. He tried to land at the nearby Monroe Airport before crashing into a farmer's field.
He was very apologetic about landing in my field, and I said, well, that's the least of, our worries at this point.
You're always feeling grateful when people walk away from a plane crash.
Both the pilot and the passenger had to be taken to the hospital, but they are doing okay this morning. The Federal Aviation Administration is investigating that crash. Happening today, Midwest Express is announcing its initial flight destinations. It's been almost 10 years since the brand disappeared after merging with Frontier Airlines, but it is making a comeback. Midwest Express will operate out of Milwaukee's Mitchell Airport. Flights are expected to take off later this year. People in 17 counties across Wisconsin are able to apply for federal disaster assistance this morning. Governor Evers announced that major disaster declaration yesterday in response to last month's storms. Most of the counties are in the northern half of the state. The storms had downed hundreds of thousands of trees and left more than 300,000 customers without power for days. City engineers are traveling to Madison neighborhoods hit hardest by flooding last year to get a better idea of what they're dealing with. Yesterday was the first of about 30 focus group meetings where you have a say in how the city fixes flooding issues long term. They're asking homeowners what they've seen in addition to reviewing studies and reports. Engineers are reminding residents that flooding can happen at any time, anywhere, so stay prepared. They'll be visiting dozens of other neighborhoods in the upcoming weeks. We have those dates on channel3000.com and how you can request a focus group in your neighborhood if you're not on that list. More local news now. An expansion at a youth mental health facility in Madison is being put on hold while project planners work to address community concerns. Mendota announced last year that it will be expanding, but neighbors worry a bigger facility will lead to more traffic and safety concerns. Another worry is the lack of input from the Ho-Chunk Nation. Anthropologists say the land is historic and important to the nation, though they said Ho-Chunk has had no say in what's being done there and where. The project has state funding, but the City Plan Commission has pushed its approval back for 60 days, giving some time for some of those concerns to be addressed. If you've driven down Atwood Avenue lately, you might have noticed hundreds of white flags across the street from the Old Brick Botanical Gardens. Those flags represent the people who have died from overdoses in our community over the years. The project was started by Safe Communities as a way to create a network for families going through this loss.
Is to give affected loved ones a place to come out and remember and memorialize and be seen and heard. We hear a lot about data, but we really want to hear and see the faces and stories of those that have been lost.
If you have a loved one who died from an overdose and want their name on a flag, all you have to do is stop by Safe Communities office and pick one up. They're also holding an event this Saturday for International Overdose Awareness Day. We have everything you need to know right now on the Channel 3000 mobile app.
Today is the first day you can submit name recommendations for a new school going up in Fitchburg. The new 6th through K elementary school is being built off of Highway MM and is scheduled to open for classes next fall. Voting will be open through September 27th, and ideas can be submitted electronically or on paper form. The district will compile those results to present to the board in October when finalists will be narrowed down.
All right, 6:10 is your time this morning. We're taking a look at a special event that aims to raise money for cancer research.
And Hattie's keeping it cool today with a forecast that feels a little bit more like fall than summer. Still got plenty of sun, though, for you folks. Our extended forecast is coming up on News 3 Now this morning. Stay with us.
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio. Feeling a little cool this morning. Temperatures dropping into the 50s. Of course, coming off a beautiful day yesterday. Hope you had a chance to enjoy some of that nice weather. High temperatures were in the mid to upper 70s yesterday. I show this map because it is going to be a little bit cooler than that today. Temperatures will be a little bit closer to 70 degrees this afternoon. Now, we did have a few sprinkles across the area during the evening hours. Most of the activity stayed north of Dane County as expected, although there were a few sprinkles here in and around Madison as well. Now, by contrast, no rain in the forecast for today. We'll zoom the map out to the entire Midwest perspective, and you'll see really not a lot of activity on the radar map this morning. Things will stay pretty quiet today. Really kind of a squeeze play between two large pressure systems. One is a high pressure system centered in Kansas, but it's pretty large today, and it is interacting with a storm system moving across Canada, that area of low pressure just under the banner to our north and east. Between those systems, they are going to be pretty strong westerly winds today. And again, those winds will be anywhere from 15 to 25 miles an hour, possibly gusting up to 30 miles an hour at times. So while we don't have any rain in the forecast, the wind is definitely going to be the main factor. Here's a look at your future track wind speed forecast today. Winds will increase this morning, again sustained around 20 miles an hour through the afternoon, but then diminishing as the sun sets. Again, it is going to be a west wind, so if you're driving on a north-south roadway, that's where your vehicle will be most impacted by these winds. Temperatures this morning are slowly dropping through the 50s, 55 in the Dells and Mineral Point, down to 54 in Platteville. Still 58 here in Madison, but down to 57 in Janesville. Temperatures may drop another degree or two before we start to warm up today. Your future track forecast model has a lot of sunshine in the area. Enjoy that sunshine. Temperatures will still likely be in the 60s by lunchtime today, only climbing into the low 70s. And again, with that strong west wind, it might feel a little chilly today. As we head into this evening, look for clear skies. No rain in the forecast tonight, but temperatures will be dropping back into the 50s. Your extended forecast continues the up and down trend, though, with the temperatures. We're back up tomorrow to a high of 80. A cold front brings a chance for a shower or thunderstorm as we head through the afternoon and evening hours, but then Friday looks dry with highs in the mid-70s. A little cool and cloudy to start the holiday weekend. There will be a chance for rain, especially south of Madison on Saturday. Otherwise, the rest of the weekend looks great. Now let's get a look at those first alert traffic maps this morning. We'll send it over to Josh Tim for all the details. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, it is a quiet start on the Beltline so far this morning. Looking great for the early commuters with no delays in either direction at this point. Checking out some other roads here in Dane County. The usual brake lights are starting to show up on Verona Road and Stoughton Road approaching the Beltline. No delays downtown on campus, but I would plan on things getting busier over the next hour. And other main routes, including the interstate, they're moving at the usual speeds with no major issues. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Josh and Hattie, thank you very much. This morning, we're taking a look at an event that I'm proud to be taking part of. It is the Red, White, and Blue Party for the American Cancer Society. And here to talk more about this event is Cassie Taylor this morning. Cassie, good morning. Thanks for joining us. So talk a little bit about what this event is all going to be about happening tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's a great event. It's the second annual Red, White, and Blue Party hosted by the American Cancer Society. We're expecting around 250 to 300 people there. It's going to be a gourmet barbecue with live music, some lawn games, and a silent auction benefiting the American Cancer Society.
So meteorologist Chris Reese and I will be there helping to MC that event. Talk a little bit about what this event is going to be benefiting.
It's going to be benefiting the American Cancer Society. A portion of the proceeds from the event will stay locally at the Carbone Center here in Madison, which goes to the Bo Ryan J. Holiday Families Fund. But the rest of the money goes to the American Cancer Society, which helps fund research all over the nation. And there's a 24/7 hotline that helps cancer patients throughout the nation as well.
This is obviously a very important impact for our local community then.
Definitely. It's great that the money stays local, but it's also great that if you have family throughout the nation that might have cancer, they're benefiting from it as well.
I know you mentioned Bo Ryan, and he's going to be making an appearance.
He is. He's our special guest that night, which is great. Always good to have him there.
So yeah, that'll be part of the event. And if people are interested, what do they need to know about tomorrow?
So for tomorrow, they can go buy tickets online. We have a website. It's called aboamadison.org. There's a limited amount of tickets still available, but we'd be happy to have anyone else join us.
All right, you can see all the info right there on the screen. We'll get that up on channel3000.com as well. And looking forward to seeing you there tomorrow night, Cassie.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you as well.
Thank you for joining us this morning. All right, if anyone knows the importance of sleep, it is those of us who are early risers, especially on this shift. Coming up, we'll tell you how UW-Madison is studying how we sleep and how to make the most of it. But first, let's take a live look outside right now on a Wednesday morning. A beautiful shot of the sunrise, and we've got a lot of sun in store, but it's going to feel a little fall-like out there today. Hattie will have your out-the-door forecast and your day planner when we come back. Welcome back at 6:22 on your Wednesday morning. Beautiful shot of the sunrise. Sun coming up just a few minutes ago. And Hattie, feeling a little fall-like out there this morning. There's a chill in the air.
There definitely is. The air is very dry this morning, and there's a little bit of a wind, so it feels a little cool. We'll still top in the low 70s today, though, so don't get too worried.
We'll take it.
You don't need to break out the sweaters just yet, but temperatures will be back into the 80s, in fact, tomorrow. Take a look at those numbers, though, this morning. 58 here in Madison, 57 in Janesville. A couple of spots are even cooler than that. Some of the coolest spots, Viroqua is at 52 degrees. We have 54 in Mineral Point, Lone Rock, and Platteville this morning. Lots of sunshine, though, is in the forecast, but a west wind will be increasing as well. Right now, it's from the west-southwest. It will shift around to the west through the afternoon and be sustained right around 20 miles an hour for all of southern Wisconsin. Now, there may be some higher wind gusts at times. Winds will stay pretty strong right through the afternoon, but start to diminish as the sun sets this evening. Here's a look at your temperature forecast today. We have temperatures that will climb back into the low 70s. Again, we'll spend most of the morning in the 60s, then low 70s for a few hours this afternoon. That extended forecast, though, I mentioned 80 again tomorrow. A cold front will bring a chance for an afternoon shower or thunderstorm on Thursday. We're back to dry weather on Friday, a little cooler with highs in the mid-70s. But speaking of cool, it could be kind of a cloudy and cool start to the holiday weekend on Saturday. And that's your First Alert forecast.
All right, thank you very much, Hattie. So before technology can succeed in space, it needs to be tested down here on Earth.
Two UW-Madison researchers are working on a headband showing us more about how we sleep and what could impact it. Stephanie Jones and Brady Reidner have been developing this headband for the last decade. In collaboration with Philips, the device tracks and enhances what's known as slow-wave sleep, which they say is usually coordinated with how refreshed you feel in the morning. The Wisconsin Institute for Sleep and Consciousness has tested the theory out on older adults, one of the populations with the most difficulty getting to that sleep sweet spot.
I think it's just unbelievably fascinating territory, and what the kids will be studying in the next generation.
This device could also have implications for people who have to be in top form at all hours, no matter on how much or little sleep they've had. It's why NASA is funding a study to see if the headbands could help in space. The Madison-based research center was chosen to host a trial to see if space travelers could benefit from the headband. The hope is that by enhancing the quality of astronauts' sleep, they can improve their cognition when they're awake. But astronauts are just the start here. The Institute is also looking to test out the headbands on teenagers later this year.
The week-long Forward Festival continues today in Madison as the city welcomes some of the best and brightest business minds to town. On the schedule for today is a roundtable with Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway. She'll be joined with other local leaders for a conversation on how they hope to make Madison the best place to start and grow a business. That discussion is scheduled to start at noon on the 8th floor of the Spark Building over on East Washington Avenue.
Around the state this morning, the Federal Communications Commission is awarding more than $160 million to support broadband internet access. That funding will help 21,000 homes and businesses get better high-speed internet access. WPR reports that more than 20 counties across Wisconsin will be accessing more predictable fundraising over a 10-year time frame through that program.
New this morning, a heads up for parents. Millions of children's water bottles are being recalled. The Consumer Protection Safety Commission says people should stop using Contigo Kids cleanable water bottles. The silicone spout can detach and pose a choking hazard for kids. There have been nearly 150 complaints so far, including 18 instances where the spout was actually found in a child's mouth. The recall applies to bottles that have a black color spout base and a spout cover. They were sold at Costco, Target, Walmart, and online between April of 2018 and June of 2019. You can contact Contigo for a free replacement lid.
All right, coming up on 627 right now, and still ahead for us, we've got the top 3 things you need to know before you walk out the door this morning.
And we are talking about a dip in the number of vaccinated kids here in Wisconsin ahead of the start of the school year. What your family needs to know next on News 3 Now this morning.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now This Morning.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, August 28th. Hattie has a gorgeous day of sunshine coming up for us today.
We'll get to her forecast in just a moment, but first, here are the top 3 things that you need to know this morning. Fitchburg police say there still haven't been any arrests made in the homicide of 17-year-old Shay Watson, who was shot to death Sunday night on Lyman Lane. Police say this was not a random act, and they don't believe there's any immediate threat to the public. Plans for the memorial and funeral haven't been made yet, but the school says they'll share that info when it's available.
The second story we're following this morning, the medical examiner is conducting an autopsy today for a man who was found dead outside of a business on East Washington Avenue. The 60-year-old was found near the McDonald's across the street from Easttown Mall yesterday. Police say they don't suspect foul play, and the death is not suspicious.
And finally, breaking news overnight, President Trump is declaring a state of emergency in Puerto Rico as Tropical Storm Dorian approaches the island. Forecasters say the storm is gaining strength ahead of its expected landfall later today. The emergency declaration allows FEMA to coordinate relief efforts from Dorian. Parts of Puerto Rico still haven't recovered from Hurricane Maria 2 years ago.
Those are the top 3 things to know on your Wednesday. Hattie's here now with a look at weather and traffic. Hey, Hads.
Good morning, Lee and Josh. We have clear skies this morning, but windy conditions, and those winds will just be increasing as we go through the day. Starting with a live look from the Edgewater Skycam out over Lake Mendota. You can see the lake looks a little choppy this morning. It's 58 here in Madison, 57 in Janesville, 55 in the Dells. Here's a look at your wind speeds currently around 5 to 10 miles per hour, although Monroe is recording a 15-mile-an-hour wind right now. Again, these numbers are expected to increase. We're looking at a 20-mile-an-hour sustained wind, possibly gusting higher at times. Our temperatures will climb into the lower 70s. Here's a look at your first alert traffic maps this morning. So far, it's been a pretty quiet start to this Wednesday, and it looks like that trend continues here in Madison. A few brake lights at Stoughton Road and the Beltline, a little slow on Park Street, but otherwise no major issues. Verona Road as you head towards the Beltline, adding just a couple of extra minutes to your commute right now. And that's your first alert traffic.
Thank you very much, Hattie. The back-to-school checklist for moms and dads includes school supplies, maybe some new shoes and clothes, but it should also require a check on those immunizations. Wisconsin law requires students to be up to date with their vaccinations.
New numbers released this week from the State Department of Health show the numbers of students with the waiver for one of more of those vaccinations surpassed 5% last year. Christina Laurie joins us to explain why checking these vaccines off your checklist is so important. Christina.
Good morning, Josh and Leah. Doctors are really united on this, calling vaccination the safest, most effective tool available to prevent disease. Simply put, immunizations save lives, and that's why it's especially important you make sure your kid is up to date ahead of the new school year. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services requires students from kindergarten to 5th grade get 5 different types of vaccines, including 4 doses of the polio vaccine, 2 for measles, mumps, and rubella, plus 4 doses of some combination of diphtheria, tetanus, and whooping cough vaccines. Assuming students in 6th grades or older already have those vaccines, the only new immunization required by law is 1 additional tetanus and a pertussis whooping cough dose to get them through high school. Now, there are exceptions to this requirement, although they're not medically recommended.
I also recommend that people talk to their doctors. Doctors are used to these questions. We understand the evidence. And I think more importantly, when we've taken care of children on the other side who were not vaccinated and who got serious infections because they weren't protected, we're able to give that insight to parents from both sides of the issues.
Wisconsin law allows parents to opt their students out of some or all vaccines for, quote, personal conviction, religious, or medical reasons. Parents who choose to opt out need to sign and file a waiver form with the school. The law also says that unvaccinated students may be excluded from school if there's an outbreak. Wisconsin schools are required to notify families whose kids are not up to date on their vaccines 15 days into the new school year. And after 30 days, schools can hold out kids who aren't vaccinated. So it's really important. We were talking in the last hour about protecting your kid to protect other kids.
Right.
And I think it's just important to be informed overall. I think it's all of that misinformation that's out there. The doctors know what they're talking about, and you're supposed to listen to them. So I think that's what we need to take away from this.
You are, and the doctor made sure to throw in that flu season is right around the corner. So for all of us adults, we're not in the clear. I know we're not going into kindergarten or 5th grade, but you still need to get your shots.
I usually wait until September to get my flu shot. So
we gotta get
which
on
is
that.
Like right around the corner.
Oh yeah.
Group trip?
Let's do it.
I'm in.
Oh, there'd be some good TV right there. All All right, Christina, Lori, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
6:35 your time now. Coming up in the morning sprint, we have the latest updates on Tropical Storm Dorian as it moves closer to Puerto Rico.
But first, the Packers are gearing up for the last week of preseason. We'll tell you how the fight is on for backup QB when News 3 Now This Morning is back. Welcome back at 6:38 this morning, and we've been asking you to share your morning with us, and Diane is sharing the beautiful colors near Wisconsin Dells.
Boy, Diane knows this pretty well, Josh, because purple, one of your favorite colors, and as you pointed out, barn, one of my favorite sites.
I feel like this is the Josh and Leah photo right there.
We are a big fan, Diane. Thanks so much for sharing.
If you've got a photo of your morning you'd like to share with us, all you have to do is go to our social media page, Channel 3000, and put the hashtag MyNews3Morning so Leah and I can pick out our favorites and air them right here on the morning show. So we are just one sleep away from the last preseason game for the Packers. Depending on the franchise, the final preseason game isn't that important when you're evaluating key spots on the roster, but for the Packers, it certainly is. They have a backup quarterback race going on. Tim Boyle's thrown 5 touchdowns and no picks in 3 preseason games. Incumbent backup Deshaun Kaiser has 1 of each, but hasn't really taken the job by the horns. He said he's just looking forward to show the decision makers one last sample of what he's all about.
Our room has goals, our room has standards, and it's about just playing those standards every play, every rep. I don't think much has changed from training camp day 1 in terms of how we've distributed reps and how we've approached this competition. So it's just about making sure I go out there and once again put good things on tape.
All right, the Brewers are falling further behind in the playoff race after losing yet another game to the division-leading Cardinals last night. Yadier Molina hit 2 home runs for the Cardinals, giving him 3 in the first 2 games of the series. The Brewers tried to rally late with Yasmani Grandal hitting a 2-run homer to cut the deficit to just 1 run. But the Cardinals would score twice in the 9th to wrap up a 6-3 win. The Brewers will try to avoid that sweep this afternoon at Miller Park. Good luck to them.
Yes, all right, 6:40 is your time right now. So the weather is looking very, very pleasant today, and those clear sunny skies should carry on into the Labor Day weekend. Patty's got a look at that holiday weekend forecast coming up next.
But first, it's a sunny Wednesday, August 28th. We want to wish a happy birthday to Alexi, Nikolai, Raylin, and all of the kiddos turning 3 today. Thanks so much for celebrating with us here on News 3 Now this morning. Boy, that sunrise just keeps getting better and better this morning.
I'm loving it, and it's been a little later and later as that sunrise gets later and later, and we're getting cooler and cooler outside.
Indeed we are, Hattie. We're looking at a fall-like forecast yet again today, aren't we?
Yeah, feeling a little bit like fall today, but I thought we'd start in the tropics, though, because that's where the active weather is. Tropical storm Dorian, right now, 60-mile-an-hour winds moving to the northwest at 13 miles an hour. It's just off to the south and east of Puerto Rico. Now, the forecast for this storm is actually for it to continue to slowly strengthen a little bit through the day today, pass over the island of Puerto Rico, probably on the eastern side of that island, with winds around 70 miles an hour. Now, it will bring some pretty heavy rain. The only good news is that storm is moving pretty quickly, but the rain still could add up to 4 to 6 inches, which could produce life-threatening flash flooding. The storm then heads back out into the Atlantic Ocean and is likely going to strengthen into a hurricane in a couple of days. And the latest forecast models have it strengthening into a Category 2 hurricane and then turning towards the southeastern corner of the United States sometime later this holiday weekend. This is Monday morning at 6:30, and you can see it approaching the Florida coastline. Still a lot of uncertainty with the exact track of this storm, but if you have interest in this part of the country, you can keep a close eye on this tropical storm over the weekend. Here's what it looks like this morning in Madison. A much quieter picture this morning. Beautiful shot from our Edgewater sky cam. Little choppy though as you look at the water. We have a pretty strong west wind already this morning, and it will continue to increase through the day. Now our current temperatures are down in the 50s. Feels a little bit like fall because it's 55 in the Dells, only 54 in Mineral Point, 58 here in Madison. Watertown is up a degree to 56, but still a little bit on the cool side this morning. Dew points are low as well, right around 50 degrees, and that's probably contributing to that chill in the air this morning. Your future track wind speed through the day today, it's going to be a westerly wind. It will continue to increase by the lunch hour, right around 20 miles an hour across the entire region, and that will stay the case through the afternoon. Not expecting any diminishing winds through at least the afternoon. Wind speeds will come down, though, as the sun sets this evening. Keep in mind, though, there could be some wind gusts up to 30 miles an hour, so definitely on the windy side today. Lots of sunshine, though, to go along with those strong west winds today. Temperatures will slowly climb through the 60s. By lunchtime, most locations still in the 60s, but we do dip into the 70s for a couple of hours, at least 72 for a high in Madison later today, topping at 70 in the Dells, maybe as warm as 74 in Janesville. Clear skies this evening, and with diminishing winds, expect another cool night tonight as temperatures drop back into the 50s. Here's a look at that extended forecast. We continue the up and down trend this week. 80 for the high tomorrow. A cold front will bring a chance for some showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening. Otherwise dry on Friday. Now it's looking a little more likely that we'll see at least some rain on Saturday, especially in the morning south of Madison. Kind of a cool start to the weekend, but we do rebound back into the mid-70s by Monday. Here's a look at our pet walk forecast.
Oh.
Trixie Ray in Fitchburg, what a cool name. Got the toys ready to go.
Trixie, a fan of fall. Looks like she's staying inside today.
You think so? Get outside with that sun. She's got fur.
Take those toys outside.
Toys with the fur.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hattie.
You're welcome.
The morning sprint is up next, but first here's Gail King with what's ahead at 7 o'clock. Hi, Gail.
Good morning to you. Ahead and only on CBS this morning, why Juul says it will not pause production despite recent cases of severe lung illnesses reportedly linked to those e-cigarettes. Plus, in our School Matters series, making learning exciting, the creative way one Texas teacher got his students on their feet to achieve higher test scores. We'll see you 7 o'clock. We like that.
It is 6:51, time for the morning sprint as our team gives you everything you need to know as you head out the door.
We start this morning in the Caribbean. That's where President Trump is declaring a state of emergency for Puerto Rico as Tropical Storm Dorian approaches the island. Forecasters say the storm is gaining strength ahead of its expected landfall later today. Hattie says those winds could reach up to 70 miles an hour. The emergency declaration allows FEMA to coordinate relief efforts from Dorian. The storm could hit Florida as a hurricane on Labor Day.
The Department of Homeland Security is planning to divert money from agencies like FEMA and the Coast Guard to fund border programs, including detention bed space. Critics say the move is especially reckless at the beginning of hurricane season. In a statement, DHS says FEMA will still have enough for operational needs and ongoing long-term recovery efforts.
People in 17 counties across Wisconsin are able to apply for federal disaster assistance this morning. Governor Evers announced the major disaster declaration yesterday in response to last month's storms. Most of the counties are in the northern half of the state. The storms had downed hundreds of thousands of trees and left more than 300,000 customers without power for days.
Wednesday starts with temperatures in the 50s across southern Wisconsin. A little bit of a cool start today. We'll tie up in the 70s though this afternoon. Watch out for a west wind though. It will be increasing. We're looking at that wind gusting up to 30 miles per hour at times.
Patty, thank you very much. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is suspending Parliament just a few weeks before the Brexit deadline. Critics say the move will limit the time Parliament has to debate Brexit before the UK is supposed to leave the European Union on Halloween. Johnson is expected to suspend Parliament on September 10th.
Today is the deadline for Democratic presidential hopefuls to qualify for the third debate next month. Contenders have to meet even tougher fundraising and polling thresholds this time. If more than 10 candidates qualify, the debate could be again split over 2 nights.
Fitchburg police say there still haven't been any arrests made in the homicide of 17-year-old Shay Watson, who was shot to death Sunday night on Lyman Lane. Police say this was not a random act and they don't believe there's any immediate threat to the public. Plans for the memorial and funeral haven't been made yet, but the school says they'll share that info when it's made available.
The medical examiner is conducting an autopsy today for a man who was found dead outside of a business on East Washington Avenue. The 60-year-old was found near the McDonald's across from Easttown Mall yesterday. Police say they do not suspect foul play and that the death is not suspicious.
A woman involved in a highway standoff in Waukesha County that led to an officer-involved shooting is wanted by police. Kaylin Sunday cut off her GPS monitor Monday morning and police haven't been able to find her since. She was released on bond earlier this month and since then failed to show up for 2 drug screenings. A judge will re-examine her bail later today.
A man and a woman are recovering this morning after a plane crash in Greene County. The two were flying from Rochester, Minnesota when their plane went down between Monroe and Albany. Deputies say the pilot called 911 himself, citing mechanical issues. They crashed into a cornfield, but both survived and were taken to the hospital. The Federal Aviation Administration is investigating that crash.
Back to school season means a trip to the doctor's office for many families, and for elementary and middle school age kids, that means a round of vaccinations. The CDC agrees vaccines save lives, and 99% of the world's population is able to be safely vaccinated. Several immunizations are legally required here in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services requires students from kindergarten to 5th grade get 5 different types of vaccines, which we have listed on our website. Last school year, the number of students with waivers to opt out of vaccines surpassed 5%. Assuming students in 6th grades or older already have those vaccines, the only new immunization legally required is an additional tetanus and pertussis dose to get them through high school.
Christina, thank you very much. The Federal Communications Commission is awarding more than $160 million to support broadband internet access across Wisconsin. That funding will help 21,000 homes and businesses get better high-speed internet. WPR reports more than 20 counties across Wisconsin will be able to access more predictable Wi-Fi over a 10-year time frame through that program.
The state of Wisconsin collected a little more than usual in taxes this year. WPR reports the state collected $17.3 billion in taxes, which is 7.4% more than last year. This increase could be due to a state law passed in 2018 allowing the Department of Revenue to collect online sales tax for retailers who don't have a physical presence in Wisconsin.
The Brewers are falling further behind in the playoff race after losing yet another game to the division-leading Cardinals last night. Yadier Molina hit 2 home runs for the Cardinals, giving him 3 in the first 2 games of the series. The Brewers tried to rally late, but came up short, losing 6-3. They're going to try to avoid a sweep this afternoon at Miller Park.
6:56 right now. Josh Tim has a final look at your first alert traffic. Hi, Josh.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Starting to pick up westbound on the Beltline. Slowdowns near Stoughton Road, and then again between Park Street and Todd Drive. It's going to add 5 minutes from end to end. Look for some brake lights on inbound side of John Nolan near Rimrock and Olin Avenue as you make your way into the downtown Madison area. Corona Road getting busier between Highway PD and the Beltline ramps, but other main routes, including the interstate, they're still moving at the usual speeds with no major issues. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Josh, thank you very much.
And here's a live look outside from the Edgewater Skycam this morning. Skies are clear, but you'll notice a west wind. It's already a little bit stronger than it was yesterday. Here's a look at your day planner temperatures. Climbing from the 50s this morning, back into the low 70s this afternoon. Keep in mind that strong west wind, though, possibly gusting up to 30 miles an hour at times. Here's another peek at that extended forecast as we round up this week, head into the upcoming holiday weekend. We're still up and down temperature-wise, 80 for a high tomorrow, so back on the warm side of things. But a cold front brings a chance for rain later in the day on Thursday, and then we'll watch a chance for rain on Saturday. It could be kind of a cloudy and cool, maybe wet start to the holiday weekend with some rain, especially south of Madison on Saturday. The rest of the weekend, though, looks pretty nice.
All right, Hattie, thank you very much.
And thanks for joining us this morning, folks. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning.